What's up, brother? How you feeling? You got a question?
I mean, I'm intrigued.
Okay. So are you familiar with this information at all? You honestly have no idea. You just really just curious.
I remember watching a movie called Barry about Barack Obama, and I think
Yeah. And he called the girl. He called you white. That one? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. He's talking about the movie was talking about Barack Obama, and he's in Chicago, and Obama goes by some brothers teaching that we're the Israelites. And some white woman is there, and they cook her. Like, you so that's what the brother's talking about, just in case anybody didn't know. But outside of that, that's the only time you've been familiar with this information?
I know about like the Kyrie Irving controversy, but is that
okay.
similar? Like, is it that black people are truly only true Jews?
Yes, sir. How do you feel about that stance? You different, disagree, agree?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on what defines what is a Jew. I don't really know.
Okay, so the Jews are a people, right? Yeah. So in the Bible, you have a man named Judah. Yeah. The Jew is just short for Judah. So the Jews, a more accurate term would be the Israelites. So the suffix "ite," like what's your name, brother?
Kenan Walton.
Kenan, right? Yes. So a Canaanite would be like your son, or your grandson, or your grandson's grandson. You see, because they descend from you. That's what the suffix "ite" means. Okay. Like my name, Dre. A Dre-ite would be one of my descendants. So there's a man in the Bible named Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. Yeah. That's when you read about the Israelites, which are his children, right? So you have Abraham, that you heard about, I'm sure, Isaac, and Jacob. Yeah. And then from Jacob, you have the Israelites. So when we talk about we are the real Jews, or we are the real Israelites, we are the ethnic descendants of Abraham, and then Isaac, and then the man Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. So when you read about like David who killed Goliath in the Bible, he's an Israelite. Jesus, he's an Israelite. Moses, he's an Israelite. All these great men in the Bible, these are the Israelites. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, do you believe in the Bible?
I think essentially I believe that all religions are human-made, or that humans created God rather than the other way around.
Okay, so what would it take for you to say, okay, well, this is clearly not simply just man-made? Isaiah 45:1.
I've read parts of the Bible. Mm-hmm. I've read up to the part where the Jews worship the golden calf and then God smites all. So
yeah,
that's like the next.
Almost all of them, for sure. So go ahead. I want to show you just a couple ways of how we know that this is not simply just a man writing these things down. So even when you look at the word Bible, it comes from the word biblios, it means collection of books. I think that the big issue with a lot of people and why they don't understand the Bible or don't believe in the Bible is because they don't even know what the Bible is and what the Bible isn't. Christianity teaches that like one day basically this book just boop, dropped out the sky. That's not how it went down. This is a collection of books, because again that's what the word Bible means. Biblios, collection of books from thousands of years ago. Yeah. So the earliest parts of it is from about 3,000 years ago. 3,000 years ago. The newest parts are 2,000 years ago. So it's 1,000 years of these books being written. Yes. Some are written at this time, some are written at that time. So the reason why I say that is because there are certain things in the book, like history. There's a book called Chronicles, for example. Now, in the book of Chronicles, it's just saying this guy had a son whose name was this, and he had a son whose name was that. That's just a man writing documentation. But then there's the Word of God that's in here too. And I'm going to show you just one thing that nobody can really answer, how this book, if it's fake, how did this come about? Isaiah 45:1. Let me show you this right quick.
It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 45, and verse 1. Thus saith the Lord.
So this is God speaking.
To his anointed, to Cyrus.
To who?
Cyrus.
Cyrus. Now this is Cyrus, the king of Persia. This is a historical figure. No scholar would disagree that Cyrus, the king of Persia, existed. Okay. Now why am I going here? Why is this significant? I'm going to keep reading, but this is the book of Isaiah. The book of Isaiah, this is about 2,700 years ago, right? Maybe 2,700 years ago, give or take.
So this is the Old Testament?
This is the Old Testament, right? So this is almost 3,000 years old, but this book that's almost 3,000 years old mentions Cyrus, the king of Persia.
Yeah.
Now, why is that significant? This was written before Cyrus, the king of Persia, even existed. This was written before Cyrus, the king of Persia, even existed. So it says there's going to be a king from Persia whose name is Cyrus, and he's going to do what?
Whose right hand I have holden, to subdue nations before him.
So there's going to be a Persian king named Cyrus who's going to subdue nations.
And I will loose the lions of kings to open before him the two league gates, and the gate shall not be shut.
Now let's go to the point. Let's go to let's go to verse. Give me towards the end. That he will like 20 page. Give me. He shall build. Give me where he's going to build the temple. 28, 44, and 28. Watch this right there. Okay, perfect. Watch this.
Where's Isaiah 44 and 28?
This is the prior verse we just read. Go ahead.
That saith of Cyrus, he is my shepherd, and shall perform all my pleasure. Even saying to Jerusalem,
Saying to Jerusalem, this is a historical city. It exists today and it's existed for a while.
thou shalt be built, and to the temple thy foundation shall be laid.
So how is it then if this is just simply a man-made book, and I'm not expecting you to just convert overnight after hearing this, but just think about this, right? So this is a book about 200 years before Cyrus even exists. This is written down. And it names this guy who doesn't exist yet, calls him by name, identifies which kingdom he's going to be the king over, and then says that he's going to rebuild the temple that was destroyed by the Babylonians. And then we can see in history, King Cyrus of Persia actually did this in around the 4th or 5th century BC. You see what I'm saying?
Well, have you read any text in the Bible that may contradict your perspective?
No. Not a single one. Now here's what we have to understand. What is a contradiction in the Bible? Bible literist. A Bible literist is someone who reads the Bible and they take everything that they see in the Bible, like they interpret it literally.
Yes.
That's a horrible position to take.
Yeah, it is.
Because the Bible, like for example, Revelation, it says that there's a dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns. Now, is there literally a damn dragon like the one in Shrek? That donkey, like the one that he damn married?
Yeah.
No, it's just symbolism that's being used.
Exactly.
And once you understand that our ancestors, that's why we say that we are the real Israelites. Once you understand that our people are the ones who wrote this text, it'll be so much easier to understand.
Exactly.
You play basketball? Yeah. For example, if I say, man, that dude's got bunnies, what am I saying?
I get jumped by.
Does that mean that you have rabbits at home? No, or is it just an expression? Or if there's a mouse in the house, what that mean? Mouse in the house be like there's a point guard, someone short that's trying to in the paint trying to get a rebound or something like that. Now is there literally a mouse in the house? He jumped out the gym. Did he literally jump out of the gym, or are these just euphemisms that our people use to describe certain things?
Exactly.
She's fine as hell. You know what I was thinking yesterday too, like how many as hells our people say? A nigga say it's cold as hell, it's crazy as hell, she's fine as hell.
Yeah.
Right? That's stupid as hell. You see what I'm saying? But these are all just different euphemisms that our people use to just communicate certain things.
That's right.
So, but there's another thing also, it's called biblical inerrancy. I don't deny that there are certain mistakes that are in the Bible. There are, 100%.
Yeah.
There's not mistakes in the Word of God though. Now what does that mean? Not everything in the Bible is the Word of God.
That's right.
But the Word of God is in the Bible. And the Word of God that's in the Bible is without error.
Exactly.
There are certain things that are human beings make mistakes that are in the Bible.
Yes.
That's why I made like the Book of Chronicles, for example. When you have in the Book of Chronicles, it'll say, in one verse, for example, it'll say, in Haggai and Ezra, it'll say that this guy named Zerubbabel, one verse will say his dad's name was Padiah. And another one will say Salathiel is his dad. So does that mean the Bible contradicts itself, or is this just a human being who's writing down a list of like 1,000 names and he made a mistake? He just made a mistake.
Something that made me skeptical is the story of Genesis. And I feel like a lot of scientific knowledge contradicts the idea that God made Adam and then made Eve with Adam's rib. I feel like the standard scientific knowledge is that that's not how humans developed. Rather, it was periods of kind of overlapping periods of evolution and migration.
Again, this is why I made mention of once you understand that our people are the ones who wrote this Bible, there are certain...
That's the original story, though. Like, you would think that's God's word.
True, but listen, even when it says he made this woman from his rib, that's not literal. God didn't play, what's the damn game where you operation and take the rib and now create a whole different human being out of it. This is all just different analogies and metaphors used to describe a principle. That's all that's being described. And I'm going to give you a proof text to illustrate that. For example, watch this.
2 Samuel 5 and verse 1. And then came all the tribes of Israel to David, to Hebron, and spake, saying, Behold, we are thy bone and thy flesh.
They said, you're my bone and my flesh. Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. That's what it says in Genesis. Is that literally, like if I said, you're my bone and my bone, flesh of my flesh, does that literally mean that I have to, somebody took a bone from my rib cage and made you out of it? No. Or am I just saying that you're...
biological connection between us.
Right, exactly. There's a connection with us. We're the same people.
That's right.
So when you go into Genesis, especially in the early chapters, there are a whole lot of metaphors and similes that are used to communicate certain principles.
Exactly.
That's why even Jesus, when he calls people vipers and serpents and devils, well, why is he calling people like a fox? Well, look at the tendencies and the actions of a fox. He's then taking them same principles and illustrations, and it's called personification, giving human qualities to non-human objects. We see all this all throughout the Bible, brother.
That's right.
So I can understand from the outside perspective, not having that understanding, reading this book and be like, man, what the? There's a talking snake, and there's a, you know what I mean? The snake, it had legs, now it's on its stomach, and you ate this fruit, and now, you see what I'm saying? I can understand why you're like skeptical of it.
Exactly.
But once you understand what it's actually saying, then it's okay, well, let's take the spookism out of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, I still feel like it's a stretch to say that story about the origin of people is metaphorical, because I feel like it's just so disconnected from what exists in reality. But regardless of whether the Bible is real or not, who qualifies as your people, or who are the Israelites? Who's in that group? Who's not in that group?
Okay, so the Israelites are so-called black and Hispanic people today. Those are the overwhelming majority of who the Bible describes as the Israelites. And the way that we come to this conclusion is several ways. You can look at the oral traditions of the people on the sign. I just did a video last week about, you can read a book called A Star in the West. And there was a translator that came over here, that was a Portuguese translator. And when he came to, I believe it was Massachusetts, he was speaking to the so-called Indians, Native Americans. And they tried to introduce the Native Americans to the Bible. And they laughed at him and said, that's our book. And they described their journey on how they got here, and it matches up exactly with how the Bible describes how the 10 tribes of Israel got over here. They spoke Hebrew, they had a dietary law, they abstained from certain meats, they didn't eat pork, etc. So we can go into the oral traditions and the customs of those people. We can go into the archaeology, we can go into Bible prophecy that describes, give me for example Deuteronomy 28 and 15, then go to verse 54, right? Let me show you something real quick. Deuteronomy 28 and start at verse 15, then get to verse 54.
Here's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
So this is Moses. You said that up to the point where you read was in Exodus. So this is 3 books after Exodus, right? And so this is Moses, and he's telling our people, look, if you guys do not keep God's commandments, he's talking to the Israelites, the same people who entered the Red Sea when Pharaoh was chasing them. And he tells these people, if you guys disobey God and don't do all his commandments, all these bad things are going to happen to you in the future. This is almost 3,000 years old. So he's talking to a distinct group of people about specific things that are going to happen to them if they disobey God. There's 50-something negative things that will happen, like 50-something different punishments. I'll read to you just one, and without me remixing it, and if you don't agree, that's totally fine. Just say, I don't see it. But I want you to just tell me, according to you, what demographic of people does it sound like it's being described? Get verse 54.
Verse 54. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil toward his brother.
What race of people have an evil eye towards their own brothers? Be honest.
I say humanity in general.
Okay, so when you see white people walking down the street, does Bob look at Joe like, what are you looking at, Bob? No. Do an Asian does Sung Lee look at Jing Hun and say, what are you looking at? Or do you got a brother? No, just think about this. Or it's a brother, man, what's this nigga looking at?
Yeah.
How many, be honest.
Yeah, but we're not having that kind of encounter right
True,
now.
true.
Like, this
Listen,
is
we are the exception. The exception does not override the rule.
I'm saying, so
Now
you
think about this.
consider-
Think about this, right? When you think about music, right? What's the most popular genre of music in the world right now?
I'm not sure, maybe K-pop?
Rap is the most popular genre of music in the world. Now, what is the most popular genre of rap?
I would say rap where it's like objectifying women, like killing people.
Now, watch this. When a brother gets on a song, a rap song, and he talks about shooting and killing and degrading and selling drugs, what people is he talking about shooting and degrading and selling drugs to?
Black people.
Niggas. Shoot this nigga.
Yeah.
F this nigga's wife.
Yeah.
Sell
That's
drugs
just
to
me.
this nigga. Do this to this nigga's mama. Spin the block. Do it again. You see that?
That's not all rap.
But that doesn't have to be all rap. But think about this. That is the most popular genre of music in our community.
Exactly.
There is nowhere on the planet Earth that
That's
you
right.
can go except amongst our demographic, except black and Hispanic
That's
people.
right.
You don't go to Japan and hear Japanese people getting on songs talk about killing each other, effing each other's women. You can't go to Bangladesh or damn Ethiopia and hear these things. Only our people are the ones doing that, brother.
That's right.
Am I lying?
No, you're
I
not.
don't know about only. I don't know all the musical traditions, but I think it is unusual and rare.
It's very unusual and rare. And the only time you're gonna go to Thailand or something to hear them rapping like that is because they're trying to be like us.
Right.
Because we're the ones that invented drill music, going on a drill. I'm drilling. We made that up, brothers in Chicago, little babies. We're talking about 12 and 13-year-old kids killing each other over beefs that started before they was even thought of. We are the only people on the earth that are doing that, brother.
What about Ted Bundy?
But he is not getting on songs talk about doing it. That's what we're talking about specifically. That's one white man going and doing some horrible
Okay,
things.
but there are still people who kill and oppress.
But I'm not talking about that, King. It said, brother, it said they will have an evil eye towards their own brother. Who did Ted Bundy kill? Who am I thinking of? The Netflix one?
He killed
That's Jeffrey Dahmer. Yeah.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what I'm
Jeffrey,
saying?
yeah.
They're not going to commit these horrible acts of violence towards each other and then popularizing it. The difference is we kill each other, and then how does a brother get recognition in his hood, in his neighborhood? Oh, he's the killer. He got all the respect. Oh, he's the dope boy. He get all the respect. All the ladies like him. He got all the money because he sells drugs to his own people.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Now,
what community are we talking about?
I'm
though?
talking about
'Cause it's
black
like
and Hispanic people.
It's like a stereotypical community in like we're not a monolith.
But listen,
Like,
brother,
not all of us
I
are
understand
like
that not every black person sells drugs and kills
But
people. That's not what I'm
is the
saying.
majority like that? I don't
I'm
think so.
not even saying the majority do that. That's
then
not
what
that's
are
not
you
what I'm
talking
saying.
about?
But
Why are you
that is the most popular thing within our culture right now. That's not a something that's crazy to say. 9 times out of 10, when you go up to one of these young brothers that's 12 to 13, 14 years old, and you ask them who do they look up to, who's their favorite rapper, who's their hero, who they listening to at that moment, who they got a screensaver of or a poster on their wall of, it's gonna be Lil Durk, it's gonna be Future, NBA Youngboy. What are these niggas going on songs to talk about? Killing black people. That's
Some
true,
of
bro.
their music is more dynamic than that. Like
I don't know that.
It's not.
Which
Like
one?
Youngboy is
Which
talking
one?
about health, philosophy.
Man, come on, bro. Come on, bro.
How much Youngboy have you listened to?
Man, you don't
How
know.
much Youngboy have I listened to, bro? Come on.
You know
Well,
what I
you
mean?
went back.
I've listened to plenty of Youngboy.
I guess
I
he's a
understand
physical.
what
We
you're
talking
saying,
about
like-
rap. It's okay.
I got it on my mind. Whole lot of bullets flying. Yeah, that's
What about,
young.
like,
That's young.
songs like
These
Death and
niggas don't want war with us. Like, come on, bro. You got a song called "War with Us." Talking about how these black people don't want to go to war with me because we kill everybody. What are you talking about, man?
Future, for example, he's made music about struggling with addiction.
Future, that's the end of the worst.
Like, bro, but that's real. But then, I see what you mean, how it can perpetuate that use. But
Percocet, Molly Percocet.
That's what you
I
need
don't
to
got
get.
no. Now think about it. When he says I don't got no manners for no slut,
Huh?
I'm gonna put my
not-
thumb. And
In
then we
her
know what else?
butt.
Now what? That's crazy. He knows about that.
You're not stopping to talk about
I'm not saying
that.
they might not have a couple songs where they're
Several
promoting some positivity. But let's not play a game, brother. The overwhelming vast majority
Yes.
of this music that
That's
those
it.
particular artists are propagating
Yeah.
is referring to the death
Yes.
and degradation of our men, women, and children.
Right.
That's the truth.
95% of it.
the
Or 98.
focus of our entire community.
But that is the focus of our young.
I've known some young brothers who are like, oh, I enjoy hanging out with my friends and playing basketball. Like, not all young people want to kill you.
But you're missing the point,
CC,
though,
you
brother.
trying.
Everything that I'm saying about our community, whether or not every single one of our people is doing those things, that's not what I'm saying. So I want you to understand that's not what I'm saying. I didn't grow up in the hood. You know what I mean? I didn't grow up wanting to kill black people. I didn't grow up wanting to sell drugs to black people. But that was, guess what type of music I listened to? Music that talked about doing that. Who are the people that I looked up to and my heroes? And if I saw them, I'm like, oh, damn, would it be the people that are talking about killing my own people, killing our own people? What's the country music? Toby Maguire, whoever, Taylor Swift. Do they get on song? I'm hopping on my tractor, shooting up Johnny's house. Does that happen? No, doesn't happen. Only our people are doing that. Right? So that's just one aspect. It said that there would be a race of people
Yes.
who would have an evil eye towards their own brothers, their own race of people. Go ahead.
And toward the wife of his bosom.
And they would have baby mama drama. They would have problems with their brothers, problems with their wives.
And toward the remnant of his children, which he shall lead.
Single parent households.
Hey,
Now, what race of people statistically lead in single parent households?
damn, it's just going through my mind about
Statistically.
25 seconds.
Stereotypically,
Not
people would say
stereotypically,
black-
but
The
statistically.
young boys
I
and the
don't know
young
the
girls.
Okay,
listen,
how many black friends you got?
They're going to make their daddy and mama. the rap.
A couple of dozens, I'd say like.
A whole lot, right? Okay, how many of them don't know their dad or didn't grow up with them like that in their life?
Not many. I mean, some have
What?
fathers, some have issues with their father, but
Okay.
some,
Is he
some
in
I
their
know
life?
don't have a present dad. Others do.
I know a whole lot of my people that didn't grow up with their dad. I was fortunate and blessed enough to have my dad in my life. I know a lot of brothers that don't know their dad. Even if they do know their dad, wasn't in their life like that. But let's just put it all together, right? So this is just one verse. One bad thing that would happen to the Israelites. It said that they would have an evil eye towards their own brothers. They would have they'd have baby mama trauma, and that they would have single parent households. What demographic of people have all three of those things going on at the exact same time? Like a Future song, at the same damn time.
You're talking about black people. You don't have those same experiences that they do. So then, are you an Israelite? Since you don't deal with these issues.
But we're talking about a group of people. So of course, within a group of people, you're going to have anomalies. Of course, within a group of people, you're going to have exceptions. But generally, we can look at these qualities, these things taking place, and we've seen these things. We've seen single-parent households in our community. Statistically, all we got to do is look it up, and we lead in.
Look it up.
Sure, look it up. What race of people lead in single-parent households? Go ahead.
This is Deuteronomy 28 and 46. And they shall be upon thee
These curses will be upon this specific people for what?
for a sign and a wonder.
For a sign of who they are. Okay, how do you know that these are the Israelites? Look at all these horrible things that are going on to this group of people, and that's how you can identify who they are.
Oh, excuse me. It says, among solo parents, 42% are white and 28% are black.
Yeah, let's look at that. I don't believe that for a second.
But that's because what? White people are like 60% of the country. Black people.
Wait,
are
wait, wait.
13.
That's talking about in totality. Oh
Yeah,
no, I
yeah,
mean the rates.
yes.
that is horrible, right?
Yeah,
there.
yes.
that
I
proved
knew
my
that
point.
wasn't. Nah,
That means because look
nah.
at this, white people are over 50% of the population. They're like
So-
60% of the population.
Yeah,
Hold on,
so-
one second,
yeah.
brother. One second, brother. Europeans, Caucasians make up around 55 to 60% of this country's demographics. I believe. I could be way more.
Exactly.
We make up, so-called black people, just talking about us, 13%. So that means, you said it was 28%?
Yeah, so this
we
says-
are over double represented.
This says more than half, 51.2% of all black children live with one parent in 2022.
Exactly.
Compared with about 1 in 5 of white children.
Exactly.
See?
So they're at 20%, we're at over, that means most. You see what I'm saying, brother? So
Most
again,
children, yes.
I don't expect you to just, to take this and then, oh wow, now I believe. I'm a believer. No.
Nah, don't you? I'm open-minded.
But I appreciate that, and what I want you to do though is at least, like you said, approach it with an open mind. And we're not coming to these conclusions illogically. Like I didn't just pull this out my rear ends. You know what I mean? We've done a lot of studying and research in order to arrive to these conclusions.
That's right.
And we can see these problems taking place in our community. And the only way that our people are going to be able to reverse these curses and make a real change in our community is by coming back to God and keeping His commandments. That's the only way, brother. Because we done exhausted every other resource so-called black people have. We've tried to be patriotic Americans, just keep our head down and pay our taxes and be good Americans. And what has it done for us? We fought and died in every war that this country was involved in. And when we got back to this country, we were hung from trees and burned from damn stakes. These are the things that are taking place in our community. So what we need to do is love one another, protect our women, provide for our children, and let them know and let us know who we are, which is God's chosen people, brother. You understand?
Yeah, I do see what you mean. Question, I forgot what it was. Oh, but I feel like I'm being open-minded, but I feel like you're not being very open-minded.
In
I'm
terms of
trying
what?
to be open-minded. Say open-minded in terms of at least questioning, maybe we're not the true Israelites.
Because I've been doing this for 10 years, and I had these questions that I already asked myself 10 years ago. So I was first a skeptic before I was a believer. So I was like you, brother. I was like, well, I had a million questions. Well, what about this? Well, what about that? Well, what about this? And then it's, okay, well, dang, this, check. Then now I'm at where I'm at. This isn't like no cult where we just,
I'm not saying that.
I understand. I'm just putting that out there. It's not like we just come to these erroneous conclusions just because it makes us feel good. All of us probably were skeptical about this information prior to us hearing it. But well, what about this? How do you prove that? Well, what about this? And how do you know that? We were skeptics first. That's why the scripture says, prove all things. Now, when it says prove, it means try it. That's why God Himself says, try me. Like, figure out whether or not I'm true or not. And then you'll be able to come to your own conclusions. And that's what we're telling you, brother.
So, do you feel like the Jewish people who inhabit Israel? Are they real Israelites?
No, they're not.
No.
They are Jewish. They're Israelis. Now, when you look at the definition of an Israeli versus an Israeli is just someone who lives in Israel.
That's right.
Anybody can live in Israel.
That's right.
If the Martians invaded, they can live in Israel. You know what I mean? They're now Israelis. You see what I'm saying? An Israelite means you descend from the Israelites. You descend from the man named Israel. They converted to Judaism in the 7th century.
That's right.
Because they were in the middle of the Byzantine Empire and the Islamic Caliphate. And so what they were, this is 740 AD, they converted. Because again, they were in between two empires, one Muslim, one Christian. The Byzantines be the Christians. So since they're caught in between two major religions that are at war with one another, they found common ground with both of them. Okay, you believe in the Old Testament, I believe in the Old Testament. You both believe in the Old Testament, so leave me alone. Your beef was with each other, not me. And then from there, you can go into the Colonimus family and other Greek families who converted to Judaism. They're a group of people who converted to Judaism. But you can't convert. Can I convert to being Chinese?
I mean, you could live in China.
Right, but I can be. But I can't be ethnically Chinese.
No.
Yeah, you can
No.
adopt the culture.
There's no possible way.
No matter what,
It don't exist.
I can eat as much kung pao chicken as I want, right?
It's not gonna happen.
And walk with my. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. It's not gonna happen.
I can do that as much as I like. For example, I went to a Japanese school for 7 years. I'm fluent in Japanese. I'm a nigga at the end of the day. From when I woke up to when I go to sleep. And no one's gonna look at me like, wow, look at Trey, he's Japanese. No.
Let's say if
But I just adopted, so to speak, their language, and now I learn their customs. But I'm not those distinct people.
so if you have, say, more Western European ancestors than I do, am I more Israelite than you?
Great question. Give me Ezra 2 and 59. Let me show you something, brother. Because notice when you say the suffix Israelite, the suffix "ite" means descendant of. So now, how do you, in the Israelite culture, descendant on, is it a matrilineal descendancy or is it a patrilineal descendancy? Meaning, in a matria meaning like your mother, patrilineal is your father. So, let's find out. Give me Ezra 2 and 59. You got it?
This is Ezra 2 and 59. And these were they which went from Telemath, Tel-Harsah, Sherah, Adon, Emer, but they could not show their father's house.
Let's wait for this to pass. Just stop at a red light. You're the police. It said, but they could not show their, listen to this, they could not show their father's house
And their seed,
their seed. Your seed is your sperm, right? Go ahead.
whether they were of Israel.
You see, so how do you determine whether or not you're an Israelite? Your father's lineage.
Yes.
That's why you read about in the Bible Abraham, and then he has a son named Isaac, then he has a son named Jacob, then Jacob has 12 sons, and those 12 sons have sons and sons and sons and sons. So it wouldn't matter about if you have so-called more, or if I have more European ancestry. It matters if my ancestry on my father's side goes back to Israel or not. Like, for example, you can have a person that looks like Justin Bieber walking around, and he could be an Israelite because his father's 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 father goes back to Israel.
So what if your great-great-grandfather on your father's side, what if he was a white man?
Then I'm not an Israelite.
Is that a possibility?
Is it a possibility that my great-great-great-grandfather is an Israelite?
Yeah.
Or is not an Israelite?
Yeah.
Well, no, because I had the documentation of who my great-great-grandfather is.
Really, but even when your history goes back like hundreds of years?
No, like I have the documentation and I have the 18-something, like 70 census. I know my great-grandfather's name. It says black. It doesn't say mulatto. It doesn't say white. It says his name was Oscar Williams, black from damn sticks of South Carolina, right? So, no. But I know what you're asking. If I go way back and it's a white man, am I an Israelite?
Like if you go back to, say, 10th century.
Then no. Unless that white man's great-great-grandfather went back to an Israelite, then no.
Can you talk to me about some of these pictures?
Okay, so let's just go in order, right? So give me Revelation chapter 1. Okay, Revelation chapter 1. So what does this sign say? It says Jesus, this is not Jesus. This is the devil. This image is not biblical. Meaning the Bible does not support Jesus looking like this. Jesus is a Negro, not a white man. Maybe Acts 13 and 1, or Revelation 1 and 13. Let's start verse 14. As a matter of fact, Revelation 1 and 1, then we're going to read a little bit. Go ahead.
Revelation 1 and 1, the revelation of Jesus Christ.
So this is the revealing of Jesus. It's going to describe and it's going to show us things and qualities and traits, characteristics about Jesus.
Which God gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass.
So John is receiving this information about Jesus. Now get verse 14. Let's see some information about Jesus.
Verse 14, his head and his hairs were white like wool.
So it said Jesus' hair was white and woolly. What race of people have woolly textured hair like a sheep?
I'd say probably I do.
You do, right? Okay. And you're a so-called black man, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Go ahead.
As white as snow.
Except his was white, like Morgan Freeman. He got the same hair texture as you, but the hair color is different. Go ahead.
And his eyes were as a flame of fire.
Uh-huh.
And his feet like unto fine brass.
And his feet was like fine brass. Is your feet a different color than the rest of your body? Okay, but imagine if you were living in the Middle East, so-called Middle East, right? In Jerusalem, just Northeast Africa, basically. It'd probably be dark, right? But let's just keep going. Let's say it was a light. Let's say it was kind of light, like yours were. Okay, let's see.
As if they burned in a furnace.
But his feet were like burnt brass. They were so dark that it looked like they burnt in a furnace. You ever put anything in the oven for too long?
Yeah.
What color did it turn out?
Black.
Dark, right? So it said he had hair just like you, and his skin was so dark that it looked like it burnt in a furnace.
But it didn't say earlier his feet were bronze?
No, it said his feet were like burnt brass, so dark as if they burnt in a furnace.
I mean, but burnt could be not totally black, but it could be like...
Perfect. Guess what, brother? Listen.
Yeah.
We call ourselves black, but are we black?
It depends how you define black.
This is black right here. I ain't never seen a... No, we're what?
Yeah,
dark brown.
Yeah.
So I agree.
Shades of
It
brown,
doesn't mean he's literally the color black, but it's just we're describing a dark-skinned person.
Yeah.
So the Bible says he looks like you. So that's why we have this image. Now, why is it so important that we let our people know what Jesus Christ looks like? Well, one, you got to think like this, and this goes into proving that we are the Israelites. If Jesus Christ looks like you, what do you think his auntie and his uncle and his nephews and nieces and brothers and sisters look like? Probably something similar, right? Okay, so then wouldn't that be some very liberating information to know that Jesus Christ, the greatest man who ever walked the earth, looks like you? Because when you look at the standards of beauty in the earth right now, what are they? Eurocentric. They define a white woman with blonde hair and blue eyes as the most beautiful type of woman in the earth.
Yeah, I don't think that's right.
I don't think it's right, and it's not only is it not right, it's damn wrong. If you look up the top 100 women, most beautiful women on the earth, I did this before. I got so mad. They said the top 100 most beautiful women in the earth are just these flat-chested, nothing behind them white women. And it is the most unbelievable lie I've ever seen in my entire planet. I'm talking about the most basic, pumpkin latte drinking white girl is apparently more beautiful than Beyonce, Rihanna, all these sisters. You know what I mean? More, like they have like the most beautiful Mexican girl that's like 78. Are you kidding me, man? I'll go to Tijuana. I was just in Tijuana. I saw 100 sisters in Tijuana that was killing every white girl on the planet Earth.
Right.
I will bend this corner right now and see a black woman that is destroying every white woman on the earth.
Right.
But the world's been flipped upside down. And the reason why I bring this up is think about this, brother.
I mean, well, there's some white women who are pretty.
Well, that's what you say. That's what you say, right? Now,
There's not one.
I don't find white women attractive
at all.
I don't find white women attractive, right? But if you do, that's your own thing. I'm not saying that there's some that don't look better than others.
I'm saying there are people of all races who can be attractive.
Okay, that's fair. That's fine. Okay, but just think about this, brother.
Yeah.
Here's the point, because I'm not even worried about them.
Yeah.
Now, when you take a people like our people, you kidnap them from the shores of West Africa. You kidnap them from Puerto Rico. You kidnap our brothers from North and Central and South America. You give them your slave master's last name. You give them your slave master's language. And then when you give them this religion, you tell them that God looks like the slave master. Jesus looks like the slave master. Mary and Joseph and the angels, they all look like the slave master. What do you think that does to the conscience of a black boy, of a Mexican boy?
Yeah, it hurts your self-esteem.
It hurts your self-esteem. Now when you look in the mirror, what do you see? Less value. Well, if they're the opposite of me, and God looks like them, then God's the opposite of me. Now I don't have any value in myself. So it's important that we let our people know, one, because it's just simply the truth. But then two, it's something to let our people know, again, we have a tie back to the Israelites. And three, that this self-esteem issues that we have that has been put on us by the indoctrination of white supremacy, it's not true, it's a lie. It's a lie, brother. So that's why we have this image. It says that Jesus Christ, again, it describes him as a brother that looks like you. Now, let's read about some of Jesus Christ's brothers, some of his own people, and let's see what they are also described as. Acts 13:1.
The book of Acts chapter 13 and verse 1. Now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers as Barnabas and Simeon.
These are the Israelites. And look what it describes them as.
That was called nigger.
They was called niggas in the Bible.
Really?
Really? That's in the Bible. Now,
You know
it's
what verse?
Acts chapter 13, verse 1.
How do you spell that?
Acts, A-C-T-S.
Acts 17:31.
Acts 13, chapter 13 and verse 1. Uh-huh. And when you read in the King James Version, it's going to say that was called nigger.
Really?
Now, when you look at the...
This says Niger.
Okay, now watch this. I'm glad you said that. Here, I got the Greek word because it was written in Greek. Now, let's see if it says Niger or if it says nigger. Watch this. Listen. That's how you pronounce it in Greek. Nigger. And then it evolved into nigger. You know what I mean? Because
how did it evolve into that? Because I think the way it started was that Spanish slave traders went down to, I believe, like the southern part of Africa, saw Bantu people and called them negro.
Well, negro because it just means black.
Yeah.
But this is why you got to look at morphology, which is like how words evolve.
Yeah.
So at the etymology, when you look at the roots of the word, like nigga, it goes from negro, in Spanish means black, but comes from Niger or Niger, which also means black in Latin.
Yeah.
See
Now,
that?
what did it mean in this context?
It means black. Yeah, read it in the NLT, matter of fact. Watch this. When you read it in other versions, this is what it says. Watch this. In the NLT, yeah.
Acts 13 and 1, the NLT. Among the prophets and teachers of the church of Antioch of Syria were Barnabas, Simeon, called the black man.
In other translations, will just say, yeah, he was called the black man. Because that's what it means when it calls him nigger. Because nigger just means black.
Well, how did the term black originate? Because I think it originated around like the Black Power movement, where these people who were called Negro or niggers, they said, "Oh, we're reclaiming this identity for ourselves.
Yeah.
This fight against systematic white supremacy." So
Yeah,
they decided
it's
to call
evolved.
themselves black.
In different decades, we were
it-
colored African American. Now we're African American. That's the latest and the greatest. You know what I mean? That's the newest hashtag, African American. Before it was, what was it? Colored African. We had Afro American, Negro. It's just another, because we don't know who we are and where we come from. All we know is what white people told us. So then they call us all these racial epithets, and we're saying, you know what? Well, no, you're not going to call us that. We're taking on a new identity. We're black. Wait a minute, we're not black. We're brown. Everybody on the earth is brown except for white people. But then we just lashed on to what we had because that's all we had. That's all that was given to us. See what I'm
So
saying?
then what can we create? How can we create?
We don't need to create anything. We are who we are, which is the Israelites. That's
Right,
who
right.
There's nothing that needs to be created. This is why it's so important that we come back to where we come from.
Yeah.
When you look at the tribes that we were taken from in West Africa,
Yeah.
you go to Africa, matter of fact, nobody in Africa is going to walk around saying they're black. They're not. You go to Ethiopia, they're going to say, I'm Habesha. They have a specific distinguishing ethnicity. You go to South Africa, they're not going to say that they are black. They're going to, whatever tribe they are. You go to West Africa, where our ancestors...
South Africa said they were black. That's
Well,
right.
they say that here because
No,
that's...
like in South Africa, like during the anti-apartheid movement, I've read like the writings by this guy called Steve Biko, who was an anti-apartheid
Right.
activist.
And what country colonized South Africa?
Like,
The British. The British did, right? And they spoke English. So they're calling themselves black because that's what, in English, that's how they call themselves. But when you go, for example, Japan in English is Japan. That's not, when you go to Japan, they're not walking around saying, I'm Japan, or this is Japan. They're saying, this is Nihon. Nihon is the land where the sun rises. That's what it means. Right? So, but that, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
These are things in English that are being communicated, but that's not what the people themselves call themselves. So when you go to West Africa, they're not going to say amongst each other, I'm black. Hey, we're black. They're going to look at you like, what are you talking about? We are Igbo. We are Yoruba. We are Akan. We are Fulani. We are Ashanti. Now, when you look at these tribes, let's look at the last one I made mention of, the Ashanti tribe. The Ashanti priest wears a necklace that has 12 stones on it. Just like in the Bible, the priest wore a necklace with, coincidentally enough, 12 stones on it. When you read the book of Joshua 13, one of the villages where the priest lived was called Ashan. Joshua 13 and 52. That's in Joshua 13. I just quoted it, right? That's fine. No, it's fine. It was Ashan. When you go to the Igbo, or the Yoruba people, that goes back to the Hebrew word Jeroboam. All these connections, all we're doing is connecting the dots. You go to the Igbo people, which contributed to about 60% of the transatlantic slave trade. They will tell you that our ancestors came from Israel and that we are the Israelites, that we are the real Jews. They called it Igbo the black Jews of West Africa.
Really?
Yes.
How did that originate?
How did that term originate? This is probably when Jewish people came over there and then they said, wow, these guys are Jews. Well, they're black. Well, they're the black Jews. Where are we? West Africa. You see what I'm saying?
That's interesting. All right, man. Thank you so much.
Brother, I appreciate you, man. All our contact info is on there. Any questions, bro, just Keep doing your research, my brother, and I appreciate your time.